Hi there, this is Jen. When we record the episode on Saturday, May 11th, NBC had not announced the fall lineup, but now we know that the Blacklist Season 7 will be returning in the fall. We do not have another 9-month hiatus this year. Definitely a bit of good news there that we were not aware of when we recorded this episode. Now we are, so just wanted to let you know, and on to the episode. Hi, and welcome to the 84th edition of Keen Minds, where we cover NBC's The Blacklist. This is Season 6, Episode 21, Anna McMahon. I'm Jen, a.k.a. Takata Saiko.
And I'm Tessa. And our friend McMahon continues to be alive, well, and is on her way to putting the entire task force on the box.
Hey, I love that. I love it when people get put in the box. I know that sounds really bizarre, but I realized the other day that Tom never ended up in the box, and that makes me sad.
You're not part of a family. You're not in the box.
Dude, you missed your opportunity. I wish in season 1 when they'd arrested him that he'd just gone straight into the box. Then it would have been fine. Everything would have been fine. That's the reason he died. He didn't end up in the box. Everybody that's been in the box lives. No, that's not true.
Fitch would beg to disagree.
Well, of the main cast. Everybody that's ended up in the box lives.
I mean, I'm sure that the cleanup of that was not nice.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, same with when Wrestler and Red were in there in season 1.
It was all blood, but at least they didn't have brains all over.
Yeah, they did. What was her name? Luli, I think?
Luli, yeah.
Yeah, her brains were all over it, but that was on the outside.
On the outside.
Yeah, it's still rough.
Troy just posted down.
Yeah, it's awkward. A lot of brains been on that box, inside, outside.
Well, talking about brains, did you notice how many eyes were on this episode? Remember, it reminded me of the Kate Kaplan episode with taking the eye of the guy, and this guy is blinding the other guy and pushing the eyes of the other guy.
Okay, so I get squeamish. I think we talked about this in season 4 with Kate. I am super squeamish over eyeballs. I don't know why. I mean, most people are. I mean, I think that's a pretty general thing to be squeamish about. Because if you think about it, most of the things that they do in television with eyeballs doesn't actually work. That whole going through the eye to your brain doesn't typically work. That's not a thing because you've got a socket back there. It's pure bone behind it. Well, I mean, I guess not pure bone, but it would be incredibly difficult to get back to your brain that way. But people do it all the time, and I guess that says a lot about the genres I watch, but
yeah, I was gonna say not in the stuff that I watch all the time, but
it happens, and people squishing eyes and ripping eyes out, and I've been watching Whiskey Cavalier, and they got an eye out.
Icky.
Yeah,
it was just icky, and the guy torturing the other guy, the pepper spray. It's funny because it reminded me of Kate Kaplan, and this is another episode written by the two Johns and Lucas Ryder. Lucas Ryder? Yes, Lucas Ryder.
I don't know. I didn't look at the writers.
I think it is the Johns and one other guy is.
It's probably Lucas then. He tends to do that.
So one of them have an eye thing.
I guess. And some people do. And I've also heard some writers are like, this makes me uncomfortable. Therefore, I write it because I know it's going to make other people uncomfortable. And that may be what's going on there. We know we need people to be squeamish. Well, this is what makes me squeamish. I mean, if I were trying to make an audience squeamish, I'd go for an eye or pulling a tooth out. Teeth get me too. I don't like people screwing around with teeth. So, but yeah, I mean, squeamish. So squeamish about the eyes. Ugh.
So, how did you like in general the episode? It was a setup episode. It's not like it was that we learned wow things or anything except for the plot that doesn't make sense. So somebody's getting something wrong, and
I was just so glad to hear all of them go, wait, what? I mean, because then at least you know that you're supposed to be doing that, and the writers aren't sitting back going, this is such a great idea, and we're all sitting back going, no. I mean,
well, it's all coming off from the British Christopher Miles saying, "I want to save the life of the president." I think that they're all assuming that the person they're going to kill in this debate is the president, but
well,
I don't think that's it. I think they're going to kill the rival.
Well, Miles did say, he said, save Diaz's life. And so it maybe Miles at least thinks or thought he's dead. Yes. I think he at least thought it was
he's a bit
Diaz. Dead. He's a bit dead. Is that what you just said?
He's a bit dead. Yeah.
As opposed to being partially dead, or as opposed to being dead all the way, he's only a bit dead. I love it.
Just a bit dead.
I'm gonna take that one. I like it. I'm gonna borrow that one. Something. But no, it's he at least thought it was Diaz. It may be that task force
didn't have all the details.
Yeah, the task force just has another piece of the puzzle, and now they're trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, I mean, that would make sense that it was a rival or something like that. The wife is obviously involved in it.
The wife seems to be higher up than Diaz because the wife is not talking to the minions.
Well, we've talked.
Diaz is talking to the minions while the minions are talking among themselves. So I think this is all, somebody is going to get killed, but I don't think that if Diaz is the one who's going to be killed, Diaz doesn't know. Diaz thinks that the rival is going to get killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we talked about earlier that there's really no way that Diaz, and they reiterated it in this episode, about how easily he's been manipulated before. And so it's not that he's the mastermind here. Like, if he was suddenly the mastermind, it would make no sense. Mm-mm. And so the wife being the mastermind, or at least higher up, makes a lot of sense. Or at least more sense than him. I mean, we don't know because we know very little about her. We saw her once in season 3 where she had a dance with him, and then now we've seen her.
No, that was in season 4. There was a linguist concern, yes.
Okay, season 4, excuse me.
Yeah, when he goes in his, the guy with 2 names, fish names. Marlin something. Marlin Trout in the school, in Red School, but the other guy was called Marlin. So, and I tell you what, I mean, it was very stunning because I've been going about this color thing, and I know that it means something. I just haven't been able to break that code of what it means. But there is 2 colors that have been used very sparingly in the show, and that is red and maroon, or oxblood or burgundy, that Samar calls our attention to, saying that's how they found red because he likes that color. But red is a color that hasn't been used by many characters. In fact, it has been used by
Liz,
Scotty, Liz, Agnes recently with the gloves, and Scotty.
Yeah, you started with Scotty.
It's and then now we have this stunning thing of Diaz with a bright red tie and the wife in the bright red dress. And I'm like, I don't know what this means, but I'm sure it means something.
Well, with politicians, that could be their party. I mean, because I assumed that since there were 2 Republican candidates that were Hispanic, I kind of always got the impression they just assumed that was going to be Cruz or something in there, that he was going to be the one that won, and they were kind of gearing that way. That was always my assumption. Or who was the other one? Out of Florida. Blanking on his name. Rubio, thank you. And that's always been kind of my assumption when they showed up about the time that the elections were happening with a Hispanic president. And he doesn't look a lot like Cruz, but a little bit, And so I just always assumed that was kind of their, well, if the Republicans win, we assume it's going to be Cruz,
Okay. Could be. Yeah,
I may be wrong.
There is something about a color used so sparingly that it's just remarkable to me. And Jennifer was also in red. I don't know what it means. And maroon is a color that a lot of other people have worn it. So I don't know what it means, but it was a striking thing, and I think that there is this conspiracy goes way back. This is what I think. This is Plan B to what Peter Kochopoulos was trying to do, and I think this is all going to end up in a bipolar world. I just don't think necessarily is with the United States.
Well, I mean, that's what they were talking about, was that I'm blanking on the name they gave, that they
The
sanctioned this.
Princip
Yeah,
initiative.
yeah, that it goes
Yeah, and
back
this
to
is
the
the
beginning of.
second time that that name has been used.
Well, I mean, and they were also using the third estate, which was the French Revolution. And so you have World War One kicking off, which started with a head of state being killed. The French Revolution, in which they decapitated the king queen. And so, I mean, you've got, it would, equate here to the president.
It also is the second time that we use the name Gavrilo Princip. The first time it was used in the show. That's the name under which was hiding the guy who was running deadnotalive.org in Ariel Kane.
I didn't remember that. Interesting. Good catch there. I couldn't for the life of you I couldn't for the life of me tell you what his name was. Even now,
That was not his name, but
Oh.
that's the name under he
Working.
operated under. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's his alias.
I don't remember much about him. So
Yeah, that's the one that Aram interrogates because I think it was Samar, and she was just not doing well.
it had to do with coding and with
The
nerd
double
speak.
thing,
Nerd
nerd speak, and Aram is like, oh my god, I gotta help her. And he's like, she has no idea what she's doing. So it's interesting because we're getting again back a conspiracy. You got McMahon, which was in a similar position as she's in like a halfway between Connolly and Hitchens, and they're all. And I wonder if one of the alternative endings for Fitch was that Fitch survived and he ran for the presidency.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. So there was always something that was going to end up with the president of the United States, and this conspiracy and the cabal and the whole thing. And I don't know how this goes, but this is going right back to the cabal. You can take that to the bank.
I agree. I mean, I've thought this is going back to the cabal for some time because, one, there are just too many loose threads to this. And what we've said for a long while, that's in a lot of cases, I think my biggest one that I would say is not the case, but we haven't finished the show, and if Tom's alive, they'll get wrapped up. But there were several loose threads that they left with Tom. If he's dead, I don't think they'll ever go back to. There's no reason for them to. But otherwise, in general, in broad strokes, they tend to go back. They just have a habit of going back much later than you'd expect them to, and that goes back to, as I've said again and again, features versus TV. Features, you wrap everything up in one go. You've got a 2-hour movie, however long your script is, you wrap it up in that time. But with television, it tends to pace differently, and John just seems to pace this more like a movie than he does like most TV shows that you see. And which, as soon as I realized that, I feel like it kind of put some of his writing style into perspective for me. It still drives me absolutely crazy some days, but at least I know why. I can handle a lot of things if I have the why ticked off. And so I do think that the cabal has been quiet enough, and I do think it's a big enough thread, a cross the board, deep in the mythology type thread, that there's no way they can't go back to it.
Yeah, that's what it's going to. I mean, we're going back to the map. We're going back to the thread, and we're going back to the man, to the people in Bonn, and that upper echelon of the cabal that we never heard. And, it's funny because I don't remember if we said this in that last episode, See, I would remember things from the show, but not what we said. Um, there's a 40 million that is happening a lot. 40 million that supposedly Red Red took. 40 million that the man from South Africa was putting as a price for Red's head. 40 million that cost the little thing that Madeline Pratt stole. That horrendous thing that he said she was hideous, and he got up for a piece of tangerine sherbet or mandarin sherbet or something like that, and caught his eye and took his appetite away. 40 million has been there for a lot. So I wonder, when they do this kind of things, those kind of little symbols, I wonder if what they're trying to do is take all those things back. Same as when they used this Gavrilo Princip back then, it was to eventually bring you back to that conspiracy. And that's when they mentioned the people from Bonn, so an upper echelon of the cabal that we have not seen. And I've always thought, how is that strange that we don't really have anybody Russian in the cabal? There was not a single Russian in there. So I'm thinking that the actual upper echelon is Russian. And they made the Americans think that they were creating the cabal in order to end up the Soviet Union. But meanwhile, they were not. They were just trying to get.
That's not entirely true.
Why?
Katerina.
Katerina was an operative, but not the people who did it. Oh, and they needed to have people that became cabal low level in order to bring it up.
You're talking about strictly on...
Yeah, on the top, the people who devised it, the people who were up there.
We don't know that for sure, but in general, I think you're right.
I remember a Chinese guy. I remember a few Asians, too. I remember somebody with a German accent. And they were very good because they would tell you German accent, Chinese accent.
I will say you can't always go off of that because Prime notoriously kept calling Samar Mira for like an entire season. So you can't base an entire... I would not, at least, base an entire theory off of Prime's subtitles.
No. But just because none of them sounded Russian.
Yeah, and that's fair. I'm not saying at all that you're incorrect. I'm just saying that, be careful on basing it on that. But as far as I remember, I don't remember anybody that they specifically noted, at any rate, that was Russian, that spoke, that they highlighted that was Russian.
Yeah. So whenever there is a book, it's actually the real thing, called The Perestroika Conspiracy. It was written as a series of memo that a Russian, and this is in real life, that a Russian defector was saying that the whole thing about the end of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War, that there was just a mechanism for them to, it wasn't working, so they would need it to end, and then by ending it become friends, and then penetrate, and then take over everything. So I wonder if this plot is going to end up being something like this, because the lack of the Russians in the cabal is, in the upper echelons of the cabal, is a little worrisome to me. That's telling me something.
Okay, so I'm trying to follow that now. Guys, forgive me. My brain is absolutely shut. I've been traveling for work all week and still a little
Plus,
jet-lagged.
I had 2 mojitos for lunch. So,
oh, look at you.
Well, not for lunch, with lunch.
For lunch, that's all she had.
No, I did eat. Although the mojitos were really the highlight there. That's awesome.
Fair. Mojitos are amazing. I haven't had one in years. I need to. I've got my glass of wine, though, so we're good. But no, I'm just trying to follow that. So, while that's a fascinating thought,
why would they be no Russians when it's supposed to be a Russian conspiracy?
Exactly.
Because the Russians will not show their face.
Okay, there's the missing piece.
There will be the upper ones that nobody sees,
yes.
And the fact that it's Bonn, which was the capital of West Germany, during the Cold War kind of has a feel to that. So I don't know how much of that it is in there.
It would be fascinating. It'd be a really interesting twist. And sorry, no, that was the missing piece that I had there was those are the unseen. That makes a whole lot more sense
The
now.
unseen people. So I find it interesting because that you have the wife of the president and the president, but with the red army, the red. It's something is just pinging in my brain, and I don't know where it will be going, but it's going somewhere.
It's
So
it's interesting. You just said the Red Army, and I know what you're talking about, but they always called Red's people Red's Army.
Yep. Yep. There's a reason for that.
All right. Do we want to jump into the characters? Is that where we want to?
Yeah. Well, there wasn't much about Aram. There wasn't much really. Not even wrestler. I mean, although wrestler had a few moments that were fun.
I was gonna say that there was something I wanted to mention. A friend of mine actually mentioned this to me, and I got in yesterday evening from my trip and was just exhausted. And we're recording this on Saturday, so I got in Friday evening late. Past the point where Blacklist had started. Turned it on, was able to go through all the commercials, but I was so jet lagged by that point that I just, I watched it, but I didn't, sort of thing. And so I was talking to a friend about it today, and she mentioned the what I've been calling the drive-by saving, where he literally appears, saves her, and then drives off again.
Well, he speaks to her, says, "You gotta go. I'm following."
Yeah, and but anyway, and so I chuckled at it when it was on because he really just kind of. I mean, he didn't, but he looked like he just appeared out of nowhere just to save her. And there's a lot of that when you're, and I've mentioned this before, since I'm in the process of trying to, write scripts and break into it, there's been a lot of study in what to do, what not to do, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the big things is to avoid convenient writing and where people just are in the right place at the right time. And it really felt that way to me with that. I mean,
But that's Red. He's always in the right time and the right moment.
That's true. But we were joking about it that it just turned Liz into such a damsel in distress because, I mean, she's sitting there and on the rewatch, I sent her a message, my friend a message, and I said, she really did just stand there like a deer in the headlights. I have no ammo. This person's aiming at me. No, I shouldn't jump behind cover. I'm going to stand here and stare at him in awe because I'm about to die.
But it was a fun moment.
It is, but it's just one of those head shaking things. It's I understand why. Apparently, a lot of people.
I was laughing so hard.
Apparently, a lot of people loved it. So I'm, that's. It was probably supposed to be a lot lighter than that, but talking to her and rewatching it was yeah, I could see where you'd get that, It was an interesting moment there.
Because he had also told Cooper, they're alone and they have no backup. And so he's just kind of why didn't you send them there? They're alone. They have no backup. They don't know that Anna knows this and that, so he rushes in, gets there just in time to shoot the guy from the car, which was awesome, and then drives away. And it reminds me of when Liz gets in season 5 that her car gets jammed into or somebody rams into the car, and then he's trying to arrest her, and then he just takes the steering wheel and puts her in the wheel with the
I know the scene you're talking about. I'm just not finding the parallel there. I was thinking
there was
more
something about the way he appears. He had cars. He has about savings, making sure that she's okay and leaving.
Oh, see, I would have drawn the parallel to her leaning out the window in season 3, right after the failed wedding. The shotgun wedding, where she leaned out the car and started shooting. Yeah, it's always fun when people, the drive-bys, drive-by saving. Instead, drive-by shooting, drive-by saving.
Yeah. Well, I found the episode in general was very, very fast moving and great paced. And I love the fact that you couldn't really, you know, you just always felt like you were being taken off your feet.
Oh, yeah.
Like you weren't expecting what was going to happen next. And then you find that the thing is that they're going to kill the president. That was great. And then everybody's like, what? And
Yeah.
Cooper is like, I don't care. We're not going to let it happen.
Everything is weird. This is our life. Move on.
Yeah.
Poor Coop. I mean, he's had to get to that point. Overall, I enjoyed the episode. It was an interesting conversation that I had that I wanted to highlight. It's because I looked back and I was expecting it to be not quite as pronounced, and it was so pronounced. And she was talking about that. I think she'd said she read something about the writer's room, that they had a joke. I think Z Hatley?
Hadley.
Okay.
Yeah.
That he had made a comment on Twitter talking about how they always talked about how Liz never ran out of ammunition. And like that was a thing. And so we were talking about the fact it was probably some sort of inside joke in the writer's room. And I'm sure there are a lot of them over the years that we don't even know about, that they just sit back and chuckle over. And we're like, oh, look at this thing. And they're going, yeah, it's more. You don't even know. It's more.
What did you think about, because, I mean, we really don't have a lot in Wrestler. We don't have a lot on Aram. They were, very minor things. Except that Aram is like, oh, I forgot about tracking this thing when I learned that the thing is that the president is trying to kill himself. That was funny.
I'm sitting there going, why'd you vote for the dude that you knew took bribes? Like, if you're aware of that, why would you vote for him? I judged Aram a little bit on his voting practices there. Sorry, Aram. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, well, maybe you don't know what he thought about the other candidate.
That's fair. I mean, maybe both. Maybe it's lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Tends to be the way.
And then we have, when we get to Cooper, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Cooper was awesome, but it seemed to have gone in her face when he says, yeah, you try. And then, at the end of the episode, there she is arresting everybody.
So she thinks. I have a feeling she'll be dead by the end of the season. She'll be gone. I'm still trying to figure out the pecking order because Diaz and I'm blanking on his name, his Secret Service dude.
Sanquist.
Thank you. Sanquist seemed to answer directly to Diaz, and yet McMahon
directs him. So there seems to be like McMahon and Sanquist have one plot. Sanquist talks to the president too, and McMahon talks to the president. So I don't know who's playing who, but I have an idea. There's the first lady who's playing them all.
Either playing them all or, yeah, I do think that she has some sort of agenda, and I personally think that I officially, after this past episode, think that she's part of the cabal, and think she's probably fairly high up. She may not even be an American citizen, who knows? She may be an undercover operative,
She may be a Russian.
Yeah, Russian or German, and so could be either one. And just have been undercover in the United States for long enough that she was able to get to where she was. End up honey trap a young politician that was easily manipulated.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of...
And then there is Kirk, and then there's Kirk offering money to gain his things. So there you got a lot of Russian things going on in there.
Yep.
So I think this is right going back to the cabal. I love the fact that they brought Kirk back. It's like he took money from Kirk. It was $300 million. Not like a drop of sand in the ocean.
I was really happy that they brought that back around because you and I've been talking about how easily manipulated Diaz is, but I was happy to see them do it in the show itself because when they do pull those things back around, it's a reminder. Because the average viewer isn't going to have rewatched the show half a dozen times or more.
To find out those little details.
Yeah,
So
and
those
so
are good reminders.
exactly. You've got to be able to drop those little pieces there to remind people what they need to have focused on without having to go back and do an entire rewatch to remember.
Now, with that in mind, what do you think was all that about Red thanking Cooper?
That was
Because
interesting.
that was there for a reason.
It almost has to be, because it stood out as, if it wasn't there for a reason, it was very bizarre placing. And I'm more inclined in this point in the game to think it was there for a reason.
What's your take?
I don't know.
Cooper gonna die?
I mean, he might. I hope not. I hope they don't kill anybody else off right now. But no, I would.
Or this is to go back and have, because Red had saved Cooper's life. Cooper has saved Red's life.
I really just don't know. But I agree with you that it stands out and that I think it's meant to stand out.
Yeah. It was a beautiful moment.
Bizarre, but beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Well, it was, Cooper is like, hey, it was my job. And Red is like, yeah, don't pull that one.
I was going to say, it's not your job to show up with cigars and, smoke to a victory.
Yeah.
That's not part of your job description, bud.
Yeah. Well, I have a bunch of theories in which, Cooper knows a lot more than he's.
Yeah, and he very well might. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. I'm not sold either way, but I think it's a good possibility that he might. Regardless of the situation, I do believe that he has a level of respect for Reddington.
Mm-hmm.
And
that he knows him as Raymond Reddington too.
I don't think that matters as much. I think that he just has a respect for Red that he may or may not have had the entire time we've known Coop. Mm-hmm. That he's developed that, he's seen that, and he feels like... I think that Cooper feels like that they couldn't do it without Red.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is
he sees the good that they've done.
Yeah, and I think to him, he's always been a end justifies the means kind of guy. I mean, we found that out in season 1 when we found out he, beat a confession out of a man that he swore up and down was guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
the judge.
That is an ends justify the means kind of guy. He trusts his own gut, and he's willing to do what he needs to get everything else there. Now, I don't think he's quite that way anymore. I think he was young and brash when he did that.
Like Red was describing Katerina.
Yeah, a bit. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have layers of that, echoes of that in his personality.
He wouldn't be in
still.
The task force otherwise.
Exactly. I mean, he is in the intelligence community. You can't be black and white in the intelligence community. Mm-mm. No way.
Now, I think it is time to go into Red and Liz, because they had that little conversation with the Peruvian cart. That was quite something. And the one in the car.
Yeah. Bring Agnes home.
Oh, yeah, but way before that. I mean, there was so many things happening in that scene. It was like, first it's like, your mother cannot hurt you. And everybody's thinking, oh, because he's dead. But that's the same thing that he said about himself. I cannot kill you. It's the same thing.
I'm sure the Red Arenas jumped on that very strongly.
They did. Come on. That is on that hook there was this big fat worm. Not one, like the whole colony of fat, nice worms just squirming in there, begging to be taken. Of course they did. And I gotta say, I've seen the clues of the red herrings. They're there. I can't. I mean, at the seasons 1 to 4, I'm saying, you know what? That's like pulling things. But come season 5 and 6, yeah, they're there. They're just pulling that, and yeah, everybody took it with the hook, the liner, the sink, and I think even the fishing rod.
The fish just took off with it.
Yep. Um, but there was also another thing. Did you notice that Red did not flinch when Liz basically told him that Wrestler also knows that he's not Reddington?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, and then of course they have the Rogelio gets out of the car and we stop that moment, but that was significant because you would have said that at least his eyes would widen, like, what? What he supposedly took those bones and killed so many people and so many people die, and now it's like, oh, Wrestler knows. There's a silence here, people. There's nothing wrong with the recording.
Yeah, I'm gonna file it. I'm gonna file it away. Yeah, I am thinking I'm gonna file that one away because yes, it's. I agree with you. It is odd. As of right now, I still am on Team Ilya.
I can't believe it. It had to be a time in which we would be in different teams.
Hey, it's fine. We can be friends on different teams. It's all right. Just
so long as you believe in my plaid.
I do believe in your plaid. I may not believe it has something to do every absolute second there's plaid on television, but I do think it should pull your attention to it, regardless on if it's absolute or not. It's like you said about the apples a couple weeks ago. It doesn't mean every apple we see means something, but it does pull your attention to it and make you think.
Mm.
And so, but
just
yes.
Don't doubt it. Don't doubt my plaid.
I love it. Don't doubt my plaid. But no, so, that is interesting. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look specifically and rewatch that specific scene again. I'll try to do it.
Yeah, because then she's talking about the KGB, which by the way doesn't exist anymore. But sure, it's more fun than saying the SVR and the FSB. It's a KGB, guys. Doesn't matter. A rose doesn't become a lily because you call it a lily. It's still a rose. And the KGB is the KGB.
Yep. I would agree with that.
So, that now she told Red basically something very important, that the KGB, the Russians, are still interested in Katerina and in Katerina's father.
Yeah, I am. Well, we don't know if it's the KGB. That's the thing. Wrestler assumed it was the KGB.
They have diplomatic plates.
If it is the KGB and they were after Katerina, then there's problem. But we had the Secret Service.
They could be cabal.
We had
from
the Secret
the Russian government.
We had the Secret Service this entire episode running a covert
operation.
Yeah, that had nothing to do. Nothing to do with the up and up on the United States government side. They had the
You're right.
immunity. They had the protection. They had the connection to the president. But when they said,
it's not a sanctioned operation.
Yeah. Do you want me to call, I don't remember who it was they were going to call, but do you want me to call it Secretary of Defense? What was it? But call the Secretary of something, and get it in. No. We'll handle this because it was unsanctioned, just like you just said. And so, we don't know who those people were. All we know with Rest,
they were Russian and came out of a car with diplomatic plates.
That's all we know. And so, are they current KGB? Whatever the equivalent is today. Sure, maybe. Are they someone else entirely? There are so many different options there, and I definitely
could be cabal, just simply.
I definitely feel like, especially with the way that we've seen the Secret Service used in the last couple episodes, it takes a closer look on that one.
And apparently we're going to get Katerina Rostova on the next episode.
I'm so excited!
I just don't think it is her. I have a feeling it's an elaborate plan to get Red to show whether he thinks Katerina is alive. If Katerina invites him to a meeting and he doesn't go, then they know she's dead. But if he goes, then they know she's alive and he knows it.
I guess we'll see on the episode itself. I mean, because she's noted on the episode as Katerina Rostova.
Yeah, but until it's like, they pull so many of those that until I see the episode.
And that's the thing. And that's what I was going to say. There have been a lot of things recently at various different opinions and theories across the board in which people have come to conclusions that I'm like, I have no idea where your logic is on that. You know what I mean? It's almost like, oh, a person breathed. They must be this person. It's like...
Yeah, well, now we got Katerina crazy. Now every woman that appears is Katerina.
Exactly. Anna's Katerina. Hannah Baker's Katerina. Carla's Katerina.
That's me, folks.
I said with a smile. You guys can't see it, but she can see it. Yeah, I threw that in just for Tessa.
Everybody, it's
Red is Katerina.
Red is Katerina. Cooper is Katerina.
Not only did she get a gender change, but also a race change. It's just like everything. Let's go.
Hey, why DNA not? Manipulation. The theories are getting very creative.
I think Liz is actually Katerina.
It could be. Maybe it's a Katerina clone.
There you go. There it is. Tom was secretly... No, that went creepy. Never mind. Back that up.
No, it's a clone to yourself. That's why they were attracted, because it's one and the same. Just one became male for DNA manipulation.
Okay, we've crossed so many lines here. I first made myself uncomfortable, and then you took it even further.
Well, I've heard some theories in which the memories from Katerina has been transferred to someone else, or sometimes it is Liz that has had the memories and the everything from Red's daughter transfer into her.
Oh, wow.
At this point, we're just shy of aliens. But
I hadn't heard that
one. One season left.
It could be aliens.
Bring up the aliens.
Aliens, dude. Let's just go full Avengers with this. Thanos snapped his fingers and that's what happened.
So, that is...
I hadn't heard that one. That's gonna... I feel like... I feel bad because I'm not trying to mock anybody's theories. I'm really not. There are some that I can...
They just can't write anything off. They just are addicted to having all the theories alive. And just when you think they're going to kill one, then they bring it back. It's like zombies.
And zombie theories. But I think that's my thing, is that I've been watching some of the theories, and I'm not going to call names here or anything, but I've been watching some theories that, for me, it's like, okay, this one is now done. We have finished this one off. It should be put to rest, and most of the time it'd move on. I've had theories that I've held for years. Tom and Liz knew each other as kids. If Red is Ilya, probably not. And I had to put that one to rest, or at least
why
for the
not?
most.
If Red is Ilya, why Tom would not have and not have known each other as children? Weird. Don't tell me that you're believing the Ilya story with the 6-year-old thing, and yes, you are.
Hang on. No.
You are buying Ilya's story all the way with the 6-year-old. All that entire tale has been true. Like, they made a pledge to one another.
Oh.
They knew each other as kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that if I believe that Ilya is the current day Red, which as of right now, I don't see any reason not to. I see flaws in it. I see that the story isn't complete. But as it stands right now, as canon stands right now, I am willing to accept it. I may change my mind. As canon hands me new things, I will adjust my theories.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands right now, yeah, absolutely. I think,
But just because he was a childhood friend of Katerina, you have no remember that supposedly Howard Hargrave was a child in Poland, so there is nothing to be said that he didn't know the Hargraves, and we have no
who,
idea.
Ilya?
We still
I
to
mean,
this day have no clue about
you
who exactly is Scotty.
I appreciate you that you're trying to salvage my Tom and Liz theory. I appreciate you so much for it. I'm just saying, my entire point to that was that as things move on, as you get more information, sometimes you have to kill your darlings. You may love a theory to death. It may have made sense right up to a certain point, but you're given canonical information in which that theory no longer lines up. And
Mm-hmm.
it may come back around. You never know. But as it stands right now with what you're given, it doesn't make as much sense. Like I said, not going to call names here because I don't want to bash on one group's theory or anything.
Well, I think that some of the problems is that it all depends on what you, and this is gonna sound very different from what I say all the time, but speaking seriously, you the blacklist can be it's very peculiar in the way they're using languages and the way they're giving clues. Anything that is given supposedly as a firm anything then gets immediately a scene in which it is thrown, or not immediately, sometimes it's like seasons later, another scene in which that entire thing gets thrown out or cast into doubt. For example, you can believe that story of that sweet Ilya story and all the whole thing, but then you have Red showed up and say, "Okay, well, tell me exactly what you said." And sure, you can say, "Oh, well, but he wants the details because it could have been the entire thing or just partly." But the most common way of interpreting those words will be you don't have to tell the truth exactly word by word. You know what the truth is. So the moment that he says, tell me the truth tell me what you said word by word, that is like the same thing as they did when Liz had the memories, and then Dr. Orchin said, I don't know. The things may be there, but the roles may be different.
I do think when it comes to the Ilya thing, and we're rehashing this every episode, so we probably need to cut this one pretty short. With Ilya, I don't think that the entire thing is necessarily something that will continue on as straight canon. If for no other reason than our narrator wasn't there for the entire time. Ergo, he had to rely on someone else's narrative to pass that information along. Either Red/Ilya told him, or Katerina told him pieces and he pieced it all together, or they told him the broad strokes and he filled things in. There are wide. I wouldn't think a father would fill it in with his daughter in the bathtub and, snogging her childhood best friend, but you never know. Dom's an odd bird.
Hey, if he was supposed to be her handler, which is beyond bizarre, why not?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out. Why would you ever put someone's father as their handler?
Yeah. I got thoughts on that. Now, this whole episode, at the end got turned on the head when they realized that supposedly Diaz is trying to kill himself. Now, do you think he's trying to kill himself?
I can't imagine that he is. Diaz has struck me as a lot of things.
But suicidal, not.
No, he does not strike me
He
as.
wants fully to get a second term.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's ready to go down for anybody else, or the idea of him going down because, for his legacy. I don't get that impression from him. I don't think he would be nearly as easily manipulated. I don't get the impression he's got a great deal of spine.
No. Do you think it's possible that his wife is sick and she wants to do this?
Not after this, no. I thought originally that was going to be the plan. You know, that maybe that's what Red was looking for leverage.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think I think she's pulling the strings now.
Yeah. So that was exactly my thought. And I loved it because I love when they present you a character, and that's what I kind of love about the Blacklist.
It goes back to the Brockton College murders, Brockton College killer, Sam's episode, in which you've got something, and then they flip it on its head, and it's the woman behind the curtain.
Yeah. And they also introduced the character in a scene that in the Lippitt Seafood Company felt gratuitous. Like, you know, Diaz is there and he's taking dance classes, and that's where he goes to speak with Diaz. So it kind of, in the Blacklist, you never know when a scene is there, and there is no character that you can dismiss as being unimportant. I remember a lot of people for years telling me I was insane for thinking that Jennifer was going to ever show up. It's not important. Really? It's just in the past. Carla is not important. It's like, they're not important. It's like, yes, they are. And so I love when they do this kind of things. They present us this character in that scene that seemed to be like, well, they could have just been, and then right back. So I love it.
It goes back to, you always go into a scene at the latest possible point and leave at the earliest possible point, because you're looking at the timing of things. Mm-hmm. You shave the scene down. Mm-hmm. And so she was important, and they've known it for this long. And that's the thing, is the Blacklist isn't a show, and little things like this keep me going back to it's the reason that, as upset as I've been over the years, I've always at least wanted to have faith in the long game, because they always somehow manage to go back and prove that they have had, well, while they may not meet my personal expectations, they are meeting their goals, their own goals that they've set. And it's not like they're just getting to a point and going, wouldn't it be fun if this happened? Let's make... I remember, I'm not going to mention the name of the show, but I remember listening to them talk about their writing room, and I hope they were joking, but they got to a certain point and they were like, so, what do we want to do next season? Who knows? And then a pizza guy walked in, delivered their lunch, and said, why don't you make it about this? And they went, ooh, that'd be fun. And they did it. And they basically were telling everybody, we had no idea what was going to happen. I would love to think they were joking, but the way their show fell out, I don't think they were. I think the
Blacklist is not.
I was going to say, the Blacklist has never been that show, thankfully. And as angry and as frustrated as I've been at points, I mean, at least it's never been that.
You get a detail in season 6 that explain this little thing that was gone in season 1, and you thought, this kind of keeps bothering me, and then 6 seasons later you get the answer. That was there for a reason. So I think that people get upset and the dangling ends and, everything, nothing gets resolved. I think it does, but you have to be patient. This is a very, very long movie.
He writes features versus TV. It just happens to be in the TV format.
Yeah, this is going to be a 165-hour movie.
Oh my gosh. That's when my brain feels like it's melting. It has nothing to do with work. It actually has to do with the Blacklist.
And there is all these things. For example, I'm pretty good with names, but I had completely forgotten there was another Kozlov in the embassy that Liz speaks with when she goes there, the first guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, the first guy who said, I'm not here to speak with a pawn with adequate clearance. That his name was Kozlov, and Alexander Kozlov. Yeah, so there, I mean, the names, the repeated things, nothing is there. It's all will make sense in a bit. And by the way, I gotta say, it's unbelievable the way this is the first time in the first scenes that I've actually seen the actress Jennifer Farren being pregnant. But they have been unbelievable as hiding that.
Yeah, if
And she's
Megan,
very pregnant.
I was gonna say if Megan ever, I mean, well, Megan tends to, or at least she did in her first pregnancy. Who knows what would happen in the second? But she puffed up a lot in the face.
Yeah.
And the woman that's playing Anna she's one of those lucky women that like she just has this
It's
huge
all in the
bump.
belly. The
Yeah.
rest is yeah.
It looked like her fingers were a little bit swollen, but I mean, it wasn't anything they couldn't bypass. And I've been noticing now that I know, I mean, because it popped up on the internet, and I've been noticing that they do a lot of shoulders and up shots with her, a lot of close in shots.
And the clothes that she's wearing with the handbag, the scarf. Yeah, it's and all in the same color, so you basically don't notice.
And she is a character that can get away with that. And so it works out. But
yeah, she's not chasing stuff or anything. Yeah, but it was very well done. So I'm kudos on that.
Did you notice that it looked like Liz was standing in the exact same place when she was taking the call with Red when everybody else was getting arrested as when Connolly came for her in season 2?
Yeah, and that was Red's workshop, and he's also where Rostov kept her, and where.
Oh no! I'm not talking about the set. Yes, the set is definitely that, but no, I'm saying that it looks like it was supposed to be the same hallway.
Yeah, the same idea that she's looking at that and she tried to escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And apparently does at least at some point because we've seen her
she's
and Red working together.
Yeah, she's not with them. It's the boys in the box.
Yeah, boys in the box. I'm telling you, I'm still kind of sad that Tom never ended up in the box. I don't know what that means for me as a Tom fan, but I'm sad he didn't make it to the box. Russ has had a 2-go in the box. He's been there twice now. At least he's not bleeding out this time. I will give them that.
It's an improvement.
I will take that improvement. Let Russ live. Just let wrestler live. That's all I'm asking people.
Well, it's a very short show. Do you have a feeling who might die next season? Do you think any of them might die next season?
This is going to be my emotional response. I hope none of them do. I hope they get out of it. Because we've lost Tom. We've lost Samar. And now it's possible that both of them could or might come back at the end. Mm-hmm. I think there are ways that they could do it if the actors are available and willing. For both of them, even though Tom's been dead for a season and a half now. But it's heaven knows we have precedent set for characters coming back.
If the head doesn't explode.
Basically, if they don't fitch them, then yes, it's possible. Fitch ain't coming back.
No, Fitch's not coming back. Mia is not coming back.
I always had a joke with a friend of mine. We wrote together for years and years, and our joke was that we could bring anybody back as long as the head was still attached to the neck. Mm-hmm. And we told, and this was well back in high school, and the guy I was dating at the time wanted to weigh in on the story we were writing, and for some reason we were crazy enough to say yes, because we were like 15 and stupid. And he wanted to kill someone off, and that was our response to him. That basically just don't lob off the head, we'll be fine, we'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. And because we didn't want the guy to die, I swear he basically just like disintegrated the body. I was just like, no. I mean, like, well done for thinking out of the box, but no, it doesn't count. It has to be attached.
Well, also that's true. If you throw the body in the acid. But you stew maker them, you fitch them, or you mirrored them.
But you also have body doubles here. There's a precedent. There's at least 2 or 3 precedents for body doubles.
We're 28 and counting in the fake death.
Yeah, it's fine.
Fine. I mean, I'm sorry. I know that a lot of people get upset when I say Tom might be alive. I don't think it will happen, but I don't discount it.
I'm well aware that it's hopeful thinking, but I know that I see ways that it could happen. It just, in the end, it's going to depend on the Johns
Hmm.
end game that they have in mind. That
Yep.
is really what it will boil down to. It is possible Ryan is fully capable of being on a couple episodes, intermixed with New Amsterdam. I mean, totally doable.
What did you think about the family? I mean, the fact that you have a family who's now on the run with a kid and the backpack and like Liz ended up with the fulcrum in the toy. The kids end up with the toy in with the thumb drive in the backpack, not knowing about it.
Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting route they took. The parents found it and tried to get a friend to crack it for them.
Yeah. No, note to people, if you ever find yourself in the possession of something bad and you cannot give it to a friend, don't talk on the phone.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with you people? Don't talk on the phone.
Like,
There is no privacy.
If it's encrypted, just assume someone's listening. If it's not encrypted, just assume someone's listening.
So basically, don't talk on the phone. Especially when it's about national security and can get you killed.
There are those lovely keywords that they listen
And the
for.
first thing you do is you make several copies and you mail them to everybody in newsrooms. Like before even you go looking at them.
Yeah, pull a Raymond Reddington. Put the fulcrum out.
Yeah. Don't mess up with it.
Oh, this is what the Blacklist has taught us, folks. Serious life lessons here.
Well, I wrote in Reddit a post in which somebody was talking about, Liz not being a strong character. And I just said, okay, let me rewrite this with strong characters. And they all ended up in other shows. Person of Interest, JAG, In Therapy.
Did you watch Person of Interest?
Yes.
I didn't know that. You and I need to talk. I didn't know you were a Person of Interest fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now we caught that John Reese.
I started to rewatch a while back. I kind of tapered off of it, but I'll end up back on it. Because I stopped watching because Root is my favorite, and I hear it didn't end well for her. So, yeah.
But she had a good run.
She did. Yeah, it's at the end.
And she died great.
Yeah.
It was good.
So, spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was years ago. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I just got off. I was very excited over that. I love Person of Interest.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like you can start thinking in those terms. So anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good episode.
It's a setup episode. What I felt is like they have planned to have this episode and the next on the season finale next week, but I think because of the station programming, they had to do Rasvet and the Brockton College Killers on the same night. But this and the next seemed like they belonged together.
Yeah, and that may be. Because I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I want to say I heard that they weren't aware that Brockton College and Rasvet were going to go on the same night.
Yeah. They're not meant to be like that. I mean, Liz comes in there. I mean, it's a great way of ending one episode and starting the other. But this two, Anna McMahon and
Diaz, Robert Diaz.
They just seem to belong. I mean, this was like, it felt like a prep episode, and on its own, it felt like, whoa, it's like you're running and then you get to a full stop and you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Come back. I need my answers. Give me my answers. Yeah. No, I actually had to look on the schedule to see if it was a double episode night. I just kind of assumed it was.
Mm-hmm. No, because they're ending, and I think but apparently we might come back in January, so that's going to be a long.
Oh, have they announced it?
I don't know.
I
actually prefer it that the other one with the 3 episodes here and then that was.
Yeah, I would like it to come back in the fall, honestly, because I'll be in the middle of my move first part of 2020, and that's not where I want to start back into the podcast. But I would love for it to come back in the fall. I'm hoping it will.
So I think that's it.
Yeah. All right, guys. You can listen to us on listen to us on Tumblr. You can listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes, and you can talk to us on Tumblr, on Twitter, and Facebook.
And give us your ideas on what you really think the plot is, because you know that the president planning to kill himself, it's probably not it.
Yeah, like we said
We'll
earlier.
love to discuss it next week.
Yep, we're excited. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.